I read this quote that said something along the lines of like, we know clothes can't change the world, but women who wear them can. And that really got me thinking, like, why can't we change the world? Why can't clothes be a part of that change? Everyone owns you, but I'm in the palm of your hand. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is episode 2 of my new series, Behind the Brand, and I'm so excited to bring this to you guys because I feel like I've been holding in everything that's happened and I haven't been able to share it with anybody. So I'm really looking forward to bringing you guys in and so that you can experience the growth and the trials and the successes with Levavi. So with all that said, if you're new here, thank you so much for watching. My name is Yami. This is my little corner of the internet where I share pretty much my life, and I'm so glad you're here. If you enjoy what you see, please give this video a thumbs up, as it really does support my channel, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And if you've been around for a while, thank you so much. You know how much you mean to me, and I would not be able to do this without you, so thank you. Okay, if you have not seen episode 1, where I kind of explained how to start your own clothing line, whether it be activewear or just traditional clothing wear, I would suggest you watch it, unless you're not really interested. If you don't really care how to start a clothing brand, you can start right here and it's fine. Today I wanted to give you an inside look kind of the history of Levavi, how we started, where we've been, and where we're planning on going. I have 2 major announcements at the end of this video, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned for that. Okay, but let's rewind and let's get started from the very beginning. I guess I should start when Taz and I were living in New York City. We were living in New York City and we were walking through the streets of New York, and we would just encounter a lot of homeless people, and our heart just kind of ached for them. And I wanted to do something to support and give back somehow. We didn't really know exactly what to do, but all we knew is that we were personal trainers, and this like saying kind of came to us, and it was lift and be lifted. And that's kind of what started this whole movement for us. So we started a brand called Lift and Be Lifted, and I'll never forget, we were walking to Grand Central Station in New York City and we're like, let's check Instagram, let's check Facebook, is there a website? It's not taken, let's take it. And we just took all of the handles off of all social media accounts, and then we went home that night and kind of like planned everything out. So we ended up naming the business Lift New York, I believe, or Lift and Be Lifted first and Lift New York. I think it was Lift New York first because we wanted to give back to the homeless and help feed the homeless in the city. We wanted to partner up with a nonprofit or something, just find a way to just give back to the city. And we got some samples, we hated them, and we kind of, I'll be honest, we gave up in New York. We kind of like, let's just put this off to the side and like revisit this maybe. Move forward to when we moved to New Hampshire, I decided it was a great time and a great opportunity to like kind of start that project up again. And that's when we decided to rename it from Lift New York to Lift and Be Lifted, because we were no longer living in New York City. But we still wanted to provide value and give back to the community some way, somehow. So when we launched Lift and Be Lifted, it was just screen printing on shirts. We had our very first crop top. I'll put a picture here, but we did that, and we launched a couple other shirts with screen printing on them. It wasn't like anything crazy exciting, looking back rather, I should say. And long story short, one day we got a letter, a cease and desist letter from Marc Jacobs' lawyer, and they just had screenshots of our Instagram profile, our website, and they pretty much just asked us to stop using the logo because it looked like theirs. And at this point I was like, I've never even seen their logo. I thought their logo was just like Marc Jacobs, but I looked it up and it was very similar. And which is weird because we actually have the rights to the logo that we have, and if it was too close, the USPTO wouldn't approve it. But anywho, we had the rights to that logo, and I just kind of took that opportunity, since I wasn't really passionate about what I was doing. It was just like throwing a screen printing or a print on a shirt. I decided to rebrand. I wasn't really loving Lift and Be Lifted, the brand. I loved the mission, but I didn't love the brand. It just kind of felt, I don't want to say juvenile, but it felt kind of I mean, it was a screen printing company. It wasn't like, I don't know, I wasn't very happy about it. I wasn't very passionate about it, and I wasn't excited to work on it. So we took that opportunity. We stopped using the logo. We didn't go to court or anything, but I took the opportunity to rebrand. And it was in that process that I started reaching out to manufacturers and trying to see how I can make this happen. And at this point, I wanted to rename the company something, but keep it with the same mission in the name and what we stood for. So one day I sat down and I looked up on Google lifted in different languages, and I saw Levavi, which is lifted in Latin, and I completely fell in love with it. I thought it was just so elegant and so beautiful. It like rolled off the tongue. I loved what it stood for. I was able to keep the name kind of, but the mission, and I just thought it was perfect. So I'll never forget, I told Taz, like, I found the name, and I told him, and I was like, that's perfect. I'm done looking. That's what it's gonna be. And that is when I really started putting all of my focus on the actual cut and sew brand, what it is right now. Now that was almost 4 years ago. So I want you to understand how long it took me from the rebranding to the first launch. It took me about 3 years because I just had really bad luck. From the very beginning, we just wanted to have activewear with a purpose. I feel like there are so many different brands out there that are just a brand and they want to look good, but they're not really doing anything to give back to the community or just the world, really. And from the very beginning, that's what I wanted to do. And I read this quote that said something along the lines of like, we know clothes can't change the world, but women who wear them can. And that really got me thinking, like, why can't we change the world? Why can't clothes be a part of that change? So that's why I have decided to make some changes in the company moving forward, but that'll be later on in the video. Back to the history of Levavi. So I started doing the rebranding in New Hampshire, went through a couple manufacturers. These were, I think, maybe the second set of samples that I got, and you can see the evolution of what it was. Like, this was supposed to be mesh, the white, like, it was just not cute. Our logo was supposed to be this metal branding. However, after being tested several times, it would just fall in the wash, and I didn't want that to happen, so I X'd that out and came in with the gold embroidery to give it still the elegance that I wanted with this, but without it falling off your clothes. So that's the crop top that released in the summer, just a different color. This is the first crop that came out. Again, with the metal. Looking back, I love the embroidery right now. I don't know that I love the metal anymore. This was the legging. It was just not cute. It didn't fit really well. And then this is actually the crew neck that I'm wearing, but it's evolved quite a bit. It was supposed to be like off the shoulder. This was a combination of the willow crop and then also this crew neck. So I just made 2 instead of the 1. Again, it has a cute little thing in the back, but I think at the end of the day, like, it looks just so minimal and like it's like not doing anything at all. So those are just some samples from the very first, or like the second manufacturer. The very first manufacturer, I was trying to find the samples, could not find them anywhere, but they were horrid. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not cut out for this, and but it's just a beginner not knowing what to do. And I just kept reaching out to manufacturers, spending a lot of money, unfortunately, until I found the one that I liked, which brings me to my first launch, which is when we did our Amelia collection. It was the OG leggings with the Amelia crop top, and that it's funny looking back because I actually chose colors from pictures. Like, they would send me pictures and I'm like, okay, let's do that one, and that one. And looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, how can you do that? Now I need to be able to see physically the color, the fabric, and feel, just so that I have a better idea of what it is that my customers is gonna get or my brand is gonna represent, right? But when I was starting out, I didn't know that was even a thing. Like, for some reason, I didn't think they can send me swatches, because every time I would ask, they would charge me like $100. And I'm like, this can't be right. It can't be right. So anyway, the first launch, we did really well. It was our first launch, and looking back, I know that it was not perfect. And I say it all the time, but thank you so much for everyone that supported from the very beginning. And it's just really exciting to see the growth of the brand and where it's going. So our first launch was last February. So it took me about 3 years to go through manufacturers. And, I had a manufacturer that I was ready to go to production with. And I said, okay, let's do it. I love the final sample. And like, I couldn't get in contact with her. She just completely ghosted me. And then one day I just kept messaging her. And she's like, oh, I'm no longer with the company. And I was like, girl, do you want to tell me that you're no longer with the company or what? And she promised me so many things. And when she finally put me in touch with one of her past coworkers, you're like, we can't do any of that. I don't know why she promised you that. And so then my process started all over again with a different manufacturer, which is why it delayed the first launch so much. So anyway, launched the first one in February. The second launch was our summer collection. Our summer collection was the matching shorts and the top with the crew neck and the Bali crop top. And it was just I think that one, looking back, was probably the most successful launch in terms of how we did the campaign, how we marketed the whole thing, and just the response we got. And the interesting thing, well, not interesting, it's just like a little fun fact about the second launch, is that my dream was to launch Levavi with all of the pieces of the first and second collection. However, I didn't have enough capital to do it all, so I had to split it up, which at the end of the day worked, but I just wanted to be able to present a full collection and not just like 2 pieces. I think for me mentally, I was just like, oh, it's just 2 pieces, it's not like a full brand. But I have to remind myself that I'm still very new at this. I'm still very much a beginner, and unfortunately I don't have all the money in the world to create this huge collection, you know? So I've learned to give myself grace a lot through this process, and if this is something that you want to do, you have to do that as well. Like, you have to understand that your journey will not be the same as another company's journey, and vice versa. And we have to understand that the success of another company does not diminish our own success. And that is something that I've struggled with, because I see so many companies succeeding, and I just feel like the little guy that's like, I want to succeed too. But I, at the end of the day, realize that I am also succeeding in my own right. And that, again, like, if another company, another person succeeds, that does not take away from what we are doing and what we're trying to achieve in this world. So I went off on a rant there. I don't know how I got there, but the second launch, that's with the tennis court campaign. Loved it so much. I wrote down in my notes that it was litty, because that campaign, and I'm looking at a picture of it right now, it was just, I think it encapsulated my vision so wonderfully. And that is what I kind of didn't do the third launch, which brings me to the third launch, which is our essentials collection. And we just launched that last February as well, so a year after the first collection. I'll be 100% honest, I truly believe that quality-wise, I think our third collection was the very, very best one. However, I did not plan as thoroughly as I should have for the campaign and the marketing, just because I felt so pressured internally. That launch was supposed to be November, before the new year, and our manufacturer messed me up so much. She after I paid for the production, she came back and she's like, oh, we don't have the fabric for this, you have to change the colors, you have to do this. And I was like, well, I created a collection to look like this, and I paid you to do this, so you need to figure out a way to make this happen, which is why it just pushed everything back. And you know, it really bothered me, and I had set that timetable for myself. And looking back, obviously you guys don't know when I'm planning to launch, so it wouldn't have mattered, but in my head I was like, I have to get this collection out, I have to get this collection out. And while we did really well with launch and we sold out a lot of things, in my head it wasn't as successful as the second launch, just because I didn't do all the marketing things that I wanted to do. But you know, you live and you learn, and that is something that I won't ever do. I don't think rushing it was the best idea, just because as a business you want to take all the necessary steps to make sure that you launch correctly and you give enough time for marketing and just spreading the word to your consumers. I will say that I have grown from picking, you know, fabric colors from a picture. The second launch, I picked the colors off of a little bitty swatch, and then the third one, I was like, you know what, I need to see the color in the full garment. I need to actually approve every little thing that goes into these pieces, and it feels good to know that those are the things you need to do. And I'm no longer like such a noob. I'm a little bit more experienced, a little more seasoned. Still, I don't know everything, but I am. It's cool to see the growth internally and as a businesswoman, especially in a career that I had no desire to be a part of when I was younger. I kind of just fell into this, and this video is kind of all over the place, and I apologize, but like I said, I never planned to own a clothing line. I kind of just fell into this, and I am so grateful that I did, because this has become my little passion project, and I just have such huge visions for this company. And with that said, I kind of want to transition into the 2 big announcements that I have. One thing I wanted to say about the essentials launch, the last launch we had, is that there are some samples that I've acquired over the years that I'm just like, when can I release this? When can I release this? And the Essentials sports bra, which is this one, was one of them. I actually got a sample from my very first manufacturer in New Hampshire, and everything was horrible except that one sports bra. So I tucked it aside, and I had always had that in the back of my head, and I'm like, when am I going to be able to release this sports bra? And it ended up being this last release, and it has been the best sports bra sold. It's the most comfortable. It's very different from this one. We didn't do this color, and there's no padding in it. This was just one of my samples, but it's cool to see that, you know, just because you don't launch a product at a certain date doesn't mean that you never will. So I think for me, that's something that I've learned, that I have always felt a little bit rushed because of the other brands that are putting out all these things that I want to put out that I haven't been able to, just because I haven't been able to afford it or do it because of the lack of the team, or whatever it is. Just because other people are doing it doesn't mean that you have to do it the same way, and that is something that I've learned with Levavi. Okay, so moving on to the two big announcements. Okay, so I heard this quote the other day that said, with revelation comes responsibility, and that hit me so hard. I think that over the past few years that I've been involved in the activewear brand, the clothing industry, manufacturing, I've learned a lot. My eyes have been opened quite a bit, and there are just some things that I want to do better as a person and as a company. So with that said, we are on our way to being a more sustainable brand. What does that mean? I want to be able to use more upcycled fabrics. I want to be able to use more sustainable fabrics, just so that we are doing good on this earth. We're not adding to the problem. And I don't know all the right terminology, and if I mess up, I apologize. And I'm gonna probably mess up in the future, but I think taking the necessary steps is a huge step in itself. When it comes to being sustainable, like, I want to put a lot of practices into place, like the packaging and the labels and the hang tags. Like, let's be honest, nobody keeps those. They go in the trash and then they go to some landfill, and that's just something I don't want to be a part of. So I'm going to do everything I can to kind of shift our production and shift our systems so that we can put more things in place so that we are a more sustainable brand. From the very beginning, we've been ethical. So all of our companies and our manufacturers make fair wages, and they're in great conditions. But we also wanted to add to that part and also be able to say that we are doing what we can and doing our part to make this world a little bit cleaner and keep it for longer, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. And I've realized that fast fashion is a part of the problem. And while I wouldn't call my clothing brand fast fashion, I still want to do my part. And I will, talk about this in the episodes to come, and how we're changing our processes and our packaging and even our activewear to reflect all of this. But I'm just really, really excited to head in that direction, because, I think more and more people their eyes are being opened into what fast fashion is like and the harm we're doing to our earth. And if there is something that we can do, why not do it? Like I said in the beginning, I read that quote that clothes can't change the world, but the women that wear them can. But I think that that's not true. And I think that the clothes that we do wear have the ability to change the world. And that's what we're trying to do here at Levavi. Ooh, that sounded so professional. Okay, let's move on to the second big announcement reveal. And I had a huge vision of how to announce this, but with the shift of my series and just bringing you guys in, I think it'd be really cool to show you the process of a new brand that we're launching. We are going to be launching, drum roll please, Levavi Swim. I am so freaking pumped for this, because this has been a dream of mine since I don't even know when. You guys know that I've always felt kind of insecure about my body. My body wasn't always best received, and I just never felt comfortable to wear a bikini. And my body is shaped in a unique way, and I have always wanted to be able to wear something that I felt good in and comfortable in, and at the same time do good. So with that said, our swim line is going to be 100% sustainable. The entire thing, the entire thing is going to be a sustainable brand. That's kind of be the push that's going to push our brand into the more sustainable life. I think that that's what I wanted to do, is kind of launch our brand into the sustainable market, with swim being the very first thing we do, along with our next collection that I will talk about in the next episode. Because I will be 100% honest, I have these samples ready to go for production, but the manufacturer and the fabrics that we are currently using in those samples are not sustainable. And I am currently in the process of finding a different manufacturer that can produce the same samples and the same products in a sustainable form. So I'm so freaking pumped, so freaking pumped. And I just can't wait to bring you guys on this journey. I think you guys are really gonna love the ideas and the products that we're releasing. And I am just so freaking excited to be able to do this alongside with you guys. And then lastly, one thing I wanted to touch on is our sizing. Our first launch was from small to large. And unfortunately that wasn't because I wanted to, that's because our manufacturer didn't allow us to do any more sizes. And then our last launch, we featured extra small through extra large. As the company grows, we will be adding more more sizes. Please, please, please be patient with me. If I could, I would add all the sizes right away, but unfortunately I am a very small company. I don't have an investor. I don't have anybody pouring money into the company. It's literally just me, and this is my little passion project. So everything has to come in steps for me, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to see it. And so if you watch my last video, you'll know that manufacturers typically just allow you to do one certain range of sizes depending on your order. So the more that I'm able to order, the more I am able to add in more sizes. So I just need more visibility from I want to say the world, or from consumers, so that I am able to produce more pieces. So that is one thing that we are very passionate about, is just being as inclusive as possible, showing all shapes and sizes in our campaigns. And when I'm able to do that, I 100% will do that. So that's just something that I want to throw in there, because I do want everybody to feel seen, be seen, and just when I was growing up, I never saw a girl that looked like me on campaigns, and that is one thing I never want a little girl to feel. I don't want her to feel like she is not enough, like she is not good enough, she's not pretty enough. And if there's something that I can do as a company to prevent that, then I 100% will. So I'm kind of going off on a tangent and a rant, but this is very, very near and dear to my heart. I've kind of learned that while I was never, a fashion design student or a fashion guru or whatever, I was very closely tied with the fashion industry because I was a model. And everywhere I went, I was told that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't pretty enough, my body wasn't great enough. And if there's something that I can do to change that and have a brand that celebrates differences and celebrates all sizes, then I think for me, that experience that I went through and all of that defeat was 100% worth it. My voice is doing something really weird. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I didn't mention that one of the most important things that we do as a brand from the very beginning. So like literally from inception of Lift and Be Lifted, we have taken $1 off of our sales and donated to Feeding America. And Feeding America is a nonprofit that gives back and helps feed families in need. And that is something that we've always done from the day one. And we will continue to do that, along with now just giving back to our community and our earth. And yeah, I'm just so excited to be able to have a platform and have a company that not only gives back to humans, but also gives back to our earth and does our part to just save the earth and have it be around for, our children and our children's children and our children's children's children. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a cause of the problem anymore. And like I said briefly, I think that I'm still very beginner in this sustainability lifestyle and just trying to do better. So give me grace when, I mess up or I'm learning. All I can promise is that I will do my best and I will try my very best to do the right thing and to make the right choices. So, and one last thing I wanted to mention, and this is a very ballsy statement. I think that all the changes that we're making and all the things that we want to do and introduce, I think that Levavi will be the brand to kind of reshape the activewear market here in the United States. And that just fires me up so much, because if we can do that, like, we are literally on the way to changing the world. I'd love for you guys to be a part of it and join the movement, join the brand, and just be a part of what we're doing. And that means buying clothing or liking a picture, sharing whatever it is. I just hope you guys are looking forward to this as much as I am, and I cannot wait to take you behind the scenes as we kind of shift our approach to a more sustainable one and introduce a new swimwear line. Moving forward, this series is going to be more hands-on. It's not going to be so much sitting down here. I am getting samples delivered this week, so we will talk more samples and show you the designs and the changes we need to make and so on and so forth. Thank you guys so much. I love you all so much. Thank you for all your support from day one. I cannot wait to see how Levavi grows as a company and as a brand, and how you guys will help kind of create and mold the brand. So, all feedback is welcome. I always read everything. So please, 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 if you have any feedback at all, leave it down below. I am all ears and I would love to hear anything you guys had to say. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, as it does support my channel very much. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video, and hit that notification bell so you know when my videos go live. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.